super excited about today's topic. It's the Web3 Summit. And the reason I'm excited to talk about this one is because, I've been to quite a few crypto conferences and I feel like I'm getting crypto conference fatigue. You walk into these events, it's like a big trade hall, it's all these booths, people, a lot of people are there just to get free merch and so on. But the Web3 Summit is totally different event. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I think it's really a breath of fresh air for Web3, / crypto conferences. And today to discuss this with us, we have Angie Darrow, who is the CMO of the Web3 Foundation and who's been working hard behind the scenes, getting this event ready to go in just, 2 weeks now? Almost 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
And we also have Sasha. If you're a regular viewer of our live streams, you know Sasha from Web0. They're behind some of the hottest events happening in Polkadot in the last 12 months or so. Sasha, why don't you just start off by just telling us what Web0 is for the viewers, and then we'll come back to Angie to talk about Web3 Summit.
Yeah, fantastic. First off, thanks for having us, Evan. Angie, it's great to be on this with you. It gives me it gives me a lot of joy from memories of last year when we were preparing for the hackathon and the Web3 Summit event, which honestly was one of the most iconic events of last year for me. Actually, I will say it was a really, really cool event. But before talking about that, yeah, what is Web0? Web0 basically organizes hackathons. It organizes events for developers in the Polkadot ecosystem and beyond. And our mandate is really to bring developers together and make things happen, build cool things, learn about things. And so that's what we've been doing around the globe. We most recently were in New York for Permissionless. Before that, Berlin Blockchain Week, and then Toronto and Consensus. So we have fun doing this kind of thing, and I'm stoked to be here to talk about it.
Great. And there will be a hackathon at the summit, of course. So what is the Web3 Summit? It's a community-driven event focused mainly on builders, developers, and researchers. It's a place where they're coming together to shape the future of the decentralized web. And it's been going on for a few years now, Angie. And could you tell us a little bit, maybe just like a brief history of the Web3 Summit? And
Sure.
Thinking back over the years, if there have been any particular moments that stand out to you?
Yeah, definitely. So the Web3 Summit started originally in 2018. It was kind of the first ever dev conference in Web3. Now, why do I know that? Because I attended. It was my first ever Web3 conference, and it was just amazing. It was so full of energy. The speakers were like the people who were just building the kind of initial projects that we know and love today. 1 second you're talking to someone about cryptography, the next second, you're diving into kind of community building and governance. So it was a really new format, because what we kind of seen emerging at that stage, and again, it was like pretty early on, it was more kind of around sponsorship, sponsor-driven talks, shilling, that kind of thing. And here was this event where people were actually coming together to kind of work across Web3 to realize the vision, right? And it was just so compelling and exciting, and it was at the Funk House. So I was there, and I was working at Protocol Labs at the time, and I remember going with a number of my colleagues and being like, "This is amazing! This is so great!" Happened again in 2019. Again, just amazing speakers. Ed Snowden was there. You just had people who were pushing the envelope, and it was great. And then unfortunately, COVID hit, and that affected everything, obviously. And Web3 Summit didn't then happen in 2020. It was planned, I believe, but then it wasn't realized. And then for various reasons, COVID, different things, it kind of was dormant for a while. And then last year, the Web3 Foundation came together and said, you know what? It's missing. We can see it's missing from the space. There are some other great builder-driven events across the world, but Web3 Summit still has a place here and should still be part of the conversation. So we got together. We got some absolutely amazing folks on the kind of events organization side, and including our friends at Web0, and we all got together and put together kind of a reimagining of Web3 Summit for today. So yeah, last year was a lot of fun. We did, like, there was just so much going on, so we can talk a bit more about that. And this year, we've decided to change a couple of things up. We listened to kind of feedback from the community, so there's a couple of changes for this year that I'm really excited about.
Ooh.
But overall, it's about builders, it's about researchers, it's about coming together to kind of, build that next stage of the decentralized web.
Got it. And it's exciting that you kind of tease that there are some changes coming. So that'll be something to look forward to.
Definitely.
I think, okay, so 2018, 2019, COVID hit, a little hiatus, and then 24 and back for 25. You mentioned the Ed Snowden appearance. There's also that sort of famous video of Gav taking a MacBook directly from the box and spinning
That
up
was
a
so
blockchain.
cool. I was there. I think I was sitting there. I think I was sitting, yeah, with some of my team, and we're like, "What is this? This is crazy," And it was kind of, everyone's talked about it afterwards. So yeah, that was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, I mean, even last year you had like members of the EU coming to talk about policy, and while like our content is very, very developer focused and very research focused, sometimes we'll touch on adjacent topics that are affecting developers and researchers, and that's important too. So we always like to take like a really well-rounded approach to things. But yeah, that was a giddy. Yeah, Gav knocked out that time. That was really fun.
That was sort of an iconic moment.
And it really was iconic. Yeah, that's fair.
You mentioned something there that stood out to me. You said in 2018, when you attended, you were part of Protocol Labs. And I think that's something to just mention, is that this event, the Web3 Summit, is sort of, it's ecosystem agnostic. It's not like a Polkadot event or even necessarily a Web3 Foundation event. It's for everyone that's interested in building a better future of the internet, the web, decentralization, and so on. So I just think that's something important to highlight. So, let's say I'm a developer, I'm, based in North America. I only have a budget to travel to 1 or 2 events a year. Why would I choose Web3 Summit over another event? Like, what could I as an attendee expect to gain from attending Web3 Summit?
Yeah, I think it's like, it's really about the connections, right? I feel like when you come, you're part of something, you're a contributor. It's not just about, passively sitting and listening to talks, right? You can actually go, there are workshops, there are unconference sessions. You can go and talk to the speakers, right? There's no kind of like false barrier where like people are separated. Everyone there is a builder, right? There is no shilling. We always kind of say, what is it? No pitching, no bitching is kind of unofficial rules of Web3 Summit, right? So there's none of that kind of stuff. It's all about people who are actually actively building. Like, you're not going to kind of find any of that other bullshit, basically. So I think as a builder, it's exciting to go and engage with that. And in terms of research, so I teased earlier, but we've got a very focused research track this year with the very latest in kind of Web3 research across cryptography and everything else. And it's amazing. Like, if you look at stage 2 on the agenda, you can check that out. And it's really exciting. We're bringing people from right across the world who are really at the cutting edge there. So that part's exciting too. I think as a builder, I want to see what's coming down the pipeline, like what's coming next and what I can apply to what I'm building. And yeah, so that's going to be there. So I think if I was thinking from that lens, I would be like, oh, what's ahoy for me?
I love that. So
I'm so curious. Sorry, Evan, like for our audience, like, so what are the like kind of key areas of research in 2025 right now? Like, what are the hot topics that you see, trends, and that we can identify in the speakers that we have invited?
Yeah, I mean, so you've got Ari Jules, who's coming to speak, right? And Ari's out of Cornell. He's one of the leading cryptographers, has worked in the space for a really, really long time as well. So he's really kind of coming to talk to us about like what was imagined originally and what have we got now. And that's another important thing, right? We talk about the vision of Web3 way back when, right? And things change and evolve and adapt. And I think like having someone with that kind of experience come and share what they're seeing is going to be really interesting. So Ari, from that perspective, is going to be amazing. We have a bunch of people from the ZK side of the house as well. I think we're going to be, it's just super exciting. We've got some great stuff there. I love it. I'm like reading through as we're going. There's so much. Ian Gregg, so he was the inventor of Ricardian contracts. Like,
So cool.
if you're doing anything on that side, like on smart contracts or like, you know, if you're a Solidity dev, I'd be diving in there as well. So, I mean, really covering the gamut. We've also got folks who are working more on the kind of the kind of social side as well of Web3, right? So people who are looking at governance and ecosystems. So when we talk about research, we're not just specifically talking about like the kind of some of these like deeper, you know, very technical topics. We also like zoom out a little bit as well. So really kind of like covering a lot of different areas. But yeah, you can tell that my brain has been saturated with programming for a couple of weeks. I'm like, I can't remember all the things. But yeah, there's something for everyone, I think, is a good way to.
Like I wanna emphasize what you said, because I was an attendee last year too. I was helping organizing. I mean, I was organizing a hackathon, but I was able to go to some talks. I think I went to 2 or 3. And just to see that after a talk, just people coming up to the speaker, and like the one I witnessed, it was the creator of PGP. That's pretty good privacy. That's, you know, the sort of kicking off using cryptography in mainstream applications for email. And this guy was there answering people's questions. And like you said, like people will just come up to him, you know. And I remember it was in the beautiful, the big stage area. What do you call that one? Right, where the big
like
keyboard.
stage one. I don't like the main stage. Yeah, it's like the gorgeous, amphitheater type. Yeah, gorgeous.
And it's I hate to use this word, it's overused, but it's a vibe. It's really a vibe.
It's a vibe. I think that's fair, and I think like Funkhouse as a venue is just like perfectly suited to this, because you have these really inspiring spaces. I mean, the history of Funkhouse itself is pretty interesting. I won't give it away because it's fun to like go and read up on. But I mean, as a kind of like as a place to gather and as a place to like talk about some of these subjects, it's incredible. It's very, very inspiring. And there are lots of nooks that you can go into as well. So if you want to go and sit with someone and like get in the weeds about something, like you can do that too. So yeah, I mean, I love it as a space. We have a couple of great designers, Eric and Agatha and Tan, who work on kind of experiential design for the event and everything. And they just have a blast like putting it together as well. And I'm sure your team do as well, Sasha. There's a lot to play with, a lot to.
We had so much fun setting up our space. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm just showing some photos of the venue here on screen, because I do think this venue provides like a level of intimacy and connection. You feel, you know, when you're sort of eye level with the speaker, you feel much more connected with them, as opposed to like glaring up at them from the back of a large hallway, you know, or peering down on them. So I think, as you mentioned, this venue is just awesome, you know.
Yeah, no, it's gorgeous, and that's where the original Web3 Summit took place as well. So it's always been the kind of home of Web3 Summit, if you like.
Right. Super cool. And
indoors. This is just the indoors, right?
This is just the indoors, and we're doing more outdoors. So, you know, given that it's going to be in July and it's rather toasty in Europe at the moment, so do bring your fans. Don't worry, we'll have some available. But it's pretty warm, and we don't believe in air conditioning in Europe. It's just a thing. So we've made sure that there's a lot of like nice spaces outside where people can get together and kind of relax. And last year's catering was insane and it was really good, so we're going to have that again this year. But yeah, lots of opportunities for folks to gather outside as well as indoors.
Like when Angie says gather outside, you're not really like describing it. I mean, like, so the venue is near a river, and it's got all these nice little like nooks to like hang out with, like, you know, cushions and like long chairs. There's even like a gaming area. I don't know what you guys planned this year, but last year it was really, really epic.
Good. Yeah, well, there's a few new surprises this year. I think we're still going to have our gaming area, which will be great. Just like, honestly, sometimes, you know, different people like vibe in different ways, right? Or they connect in different ways. So sometimes like creating an opportunity, whether it's a giant game of like Jenga or like, you know, but just like excuses for people to like spark a conversation sometimes is helpful. Maybe you're not feeling as confident about approaching people. So yeah, we're just finding ways to like spark conversations. We've got some amazing artwork that is being curated by a local art collective in Berlin. So that will also be like really nice to engage with. And yeah, so like lots of things like that again this year.
Speaking of, you know, connecting with other attendees, there is the Node Space, which is, well, what is the Node Space? Why don't you tell me, Andrew, what is the Node Space?
Sure. So for folks who are not familiar with an unconference model, basically the idea is to, you know, bring up topics that you're excited about or interested in, but you want to commune with other people to discuss them, right? Instead of it just being like a, you know, one person speaking to a room of people, really the idea is to like spark discussion and debate. So you can see here, this is a great picture where a bunch of folks are gathered together. What's happened is they've looked at a board someone has put up. Let's assume for the sake of it that they're talking about peer-to-peer networks, right? And they have decided to get together and talk about like, you know, how they're leveraging those for their particular protocol or like, you know, what optimizations they've found. So yeah, it's just like a really great way to connect with like a sub-tribe, if you like, right? Another group of people who are interested in something that you're interested in, and nobody cares where you're working, what you're working on. The real focus is like the topic that you're all passionate about or engaged with. So we've seen some absolute goodies in the past. Last year, I think someone did one on longevity research and how that can be applied to blockchain and how research around it can be like driven by Web3 primitives. So I thought that was like incredibly fascinating, super cool. We had one around architecture and using blockchain for architectural design. Very, very cool. What were the other ones? I've seen like a human brain interface application.
Wow.
And I'm like, I want to know how that connects to Web3 because I'm still figuring it out. And then human rights data storage on the blockchain was another one that I really like. It was amazing. It was such a fascinating discussion. There were folks from the UN there were folks from different protocols who were interested in kind of like becoming more engaged in the space and understanding how our technologies can be applied here. So yeah, there's just like a lot. Now the nice thing is like it doesn't really matter what the topic is, right? You could just be like, you know what, I'm burned out and I've had that experience and I want to share like how I've managed that with other folks. Like it's really just about coming together and finding like kindred spirits at the conference.
So it's yeah. I mean, so for example, you watch a talk as well, and you might come to this. It's almost like a breakout room where you can kind of even go into more detail if you'd like. And I think a space like this is so important in this decentralized world in which we operate, where you know, a lot of us are working remote. We don't actually interact with people face to face on a daily basis with our colleagues or our collaborators. So to have a chance to sync up with them, have a brainstorm in a room like this is just great.
Right, exactly. And it's really interesting because what we've seen is that these connections often like, you know, endure, and all of a sudden someone's saying, oh, hey, I met this person at Web3 Summit and we've started this project together, or you know what, I heard about this awesome open source project at Web3 Summit and now I'm a contributor, and like, you know, or even our grants program, right? Some people like sometimes will hear, oh, well, actually I heard about the grants program at Web3 Summit and I was keen to like, you know, get involved. So yeah, it can often like lead to great outcomes, right? Just by like participating. So I would, if you're coming, I really, really encourage you to get involved because you just meet the most amazing people. I'm still really good friends with a bunch of people that I met back in 2018, 2019. And honestly, it's probably how I ended up at the Web3 Foundation because I was so inspired by the event. And then, yeah, I was like, oh, they seem like an awesome group of people and a great kind of like catalyst and the kind of Web3 ecosystem. So yeah, when the opportunity arose, I was like, yes, that sounds great.
Awesome. That's incredible. So yeah, it's, you know, aside from seeing these amazing talks, it's, you know, it's a lot about networking and making connections. You know, if you're looking for co-founders for your project, maybe you're looking for an investor, you're looking for user feedback on something you're working on, it's a great place to be. Hey, Angie, do we have you for another few minutes, or
Sure.
did you have to jump off?
No,
Or
no, no. I can
we have.
hang out
Okay,
for
perfect.
minutes,
Perfect. Because I wanted to just change gears slightly and ask more of a personal question about, this event is in Berlin,
Yeah.
which is a Web3 hub. But I just wanted to ask, like, what's an ideal day if I'm coming out to Berlin for the event, July 14th through 16th, and I plan to spend a few days in Berlin? Like, what's an ideal Berlin weekend look like to you?
As you know, my answer might have been a bit different about 4 years ago. I did have two young children, but yeah, I think now, like, Berlin is just an amazing city. Like, I absolutely love the Pergamon, the museum. So it has incredible museums. The universities are amazing as well. What a rich history. So
Yeah.
I love to just wander around Berlin. Honestly, I remember spending time there. And just like there's just like lots of secret doors and like amazing coffee shops and like great eateries. So it's yeah, it's just an amazing place for kind of like wandering around, exploring, like just I don't know,
Yeah.
like taking in
It's
the
like
history.
just go with the flow. Just go
Go
with
with
the
the
flow, right? It's like
flow.
have a
Yeah,
coffee.
definitely, definitely. If you're a big museum nerd like me, though, don't miss Museum Island. Like, and the
Yeah.
Pergamon would be probably one of my favorites. Where else do I like? I mean, you can't beat like a wee Berlin beer
Yeah.
session or a Club Mate for those of you who don't imbibe. But yeah, I think that's right. And like the food scene is actually pretty good in Berlin as well. So yeah, if you're like me and you enjoy your scran, then I would yeah, I'd definitely check it out as well. But yeah, there's always so much going on in Berlin. Like it's an amazing city. Like I'm so happy that I get the chance to come out and visit for Web3 Summit. So yeah, I'm excited.
And after a long day at the conference, for those listeners that maybe want to partake in a little bit of partying, you can find plenty of that as well. Talk to Sasha. I'm sure he knows the places to be. Cool. Let's go over now to the hackathon. So I'm coming to you, Sasha. The stage is yours. Tell us about the hackathon and what we can look forward to.
Okay, so this is not your typical hackathon. This is not your typical hackathon because we are opening a prize pool that winners of these prizes will get to continue working on their project after the hackathon.
Okay.
So what that really means is we're trying to push this narrative of don't just build something and then like ditch it, never see it again after winning. Try to build something that you will continue building after the hackathon, because we all know that during a hackathon you're not going to finish something. You're just going to get something started. So that's really the focus of this year's model. Last year was the same thing, except that this year we're adding bounties on top of that. So concretely we have the main track, which is for projects kind of really it's kind of like saying in order to submit to the main track you need to submit a grant proposal.
Okay.
You have to basically say, here's what I'm going to build during the hackathon, and then here's what I'm going to build after the hackathon if I win. And judges will be looking at that. They'll be looking at the viability of your plans post-hackathon. But in addition to the main track, we do have a bunch of partners that are putting in bounties that participants can hunt, right? And so add to their main track submissions. I can share right now that we have...
How does that work? That sounds interesting. So you have partners that are sort of putting out bounties, like it's like a challenge you have to complete, or dive into that more.
It's kind of up to the partners themselves. Web0 is working with partners to make sure that the bounties that they propose kind of fit this overall narrative of synergy, right? So we're looking for submissions that have a holistic approach of like, what they're building needs to be Web3. It needs to be multi-chain. It needs to be outside of the box of just one piece of technology, right? And so to do that, we're inviting people to pick different bounties from our partners. And so how does it work? Concretely, okay, the two partners I can share with right now, because we're kind of on a rolling basis of announcing the partners as they come up. Well, Hyperbridge was today, I think. Hyperbridge is putting it up $5,000 for the best use of their SDK to do storage reads from across chains. So check out the Hyperbridge documentation if you want to get ahead of understanding what that might look like for your projects. But concretely, that means that if you're building some kind of thing that is main track worthy, i.e. you have a clear vision for building after the hackathon, and it's moving the needle on Web3. It's also, open source. It's things like, we share some ideas, and I'm actually going to go into more detail about this later on a stream. But essentially, this team could choose to use Hyperbridge's SDK in their solution.
Right.
Either as a core piece of technology for their solution, or kind of to enhance it. And so this team would be eligible for the main track prize and the Hyperbridge prize.
Okay, great. And is the space, is it like a 24-hour space hackathon, or is it,
Yeah.
is it? Oh, it is, okay.
It's 24 hours. It gets kind of spooky in there past 4 a.m. I can tell you from experience.
The ghost of the Funkos.
It's kind of fun. It adds to
okay, yeah, 72-hour round-the-clock hackathon. Here we go.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So this page actually has all of the details about what the hackathon's about, what to expect, what are the different what are the different bounties, and also we give a few ideas of like what we're looking for.
Awesome.
So I can share also that the day of the hackathon, we're going to be publishing an idea pool, where this will be a pool of ideas that Web0 is working with some key ecosystem agents to come up with like the things that we would like to see on Polkadot. Okay. And teams can just pick these ideas and work on them, right? So this would kind of be like a proposal for a grant in a sense, right? And yeah, so look out for that, but also start thinking about your ideas. It's a hackathon that's really geared to anything that is going to make an impact in Web3, on pushing products to real users, and moving the needle on bringing impact with Web3 tools and products. So that could be things like for developers, that could be things like frameworks and libraries. It could also be full-on applications that you would plan to continue building after the hackathon.
Got it. All right, so I put up the link here to the page that has all of the information. There's $30,000 up for grab and some bounties as well. So if you're a developer and you are attending the summit, you should definitely apply to the hackathon. Just go over to that Luma page there. And I say it every time, Sasha, but whoever does your guys' branding and art direction, huge props. I love it. I just love these graphics. I say that every time, but okay, cool. So we have the hackathon, we have the node space, we have the city of Berlin. It's just a great place to be. I think we're kind of coming towards the end here. So I wanted to ask, how should people prepare if they are going to attend? Like, what should they do ahead of time? I always like to say, if you're going to an event and you feel like connecting with someone, reach out to them ahead of time if you know they'll be there. Find a place to grab a coffee. Find maybe agree to meet them at the node space for a couple of hours. So that's always my tip for people. If you're there to connect people, reach out ahead of time, find a time. What about?
Yeah, I love that. That's a great tip. I think that's an awesome tip. We're expecting 1,000 people, so it's like, while it's still intimate, definitely if you want to try and make the most of your time, I think reaching out to folks in advance, or if there's speakers who you're excited to, reach out to them too. I've got to say, they're just a brilliant bunch. They're like the loveliest, the loveliest humans. And I think everyone who's coming is really excited to speak on their kind of like subject matter, and they want to engage. They're keen to hear feedback or get input from the community. So yeah, I love that. I think absolutely reach out. Come with an open mind is probably my other thing. It's easy to get wrapped up in kind of politics and tribalism and all of that stuff. Not here. This is a space where we get to imagine our future. It's a space where we get to really cross some of these fake boundaries and think about if we can share knowledge, if we can share what we're working on, the future, we can drive things even faster, right? And I think innovation is always the product of collaboration. So come with a kind of collaborative mindset, and be excited to engage with other people. And you know what, we might not agree with everyone, and that's super cool, but it's always really interesting to hear how other people are approaching things. things. So yeah, I think open mind in the spirit of collaboration, you're just going to have a blast.
And just remember, no bitching, no pitching. I
No
absolutely love that
pitching.
tagline.
No pitching. I get the big wooden staff out from the side of the stage if you start to pitch, and you're slowly taking off.
And I know that we're almost sold out, but are there a few tickets available? If people haven't got theirs yet, they can come here to the website.
Yeah, there are. So I think we've got
Okay.
about 100 tickets left.
Okay.
And that seems about, I think that's about right. And students can come for free. So if you're a student, then you can come for free. If you participate in the hackathon, you can come for free as well. If you like, we don't want there to be a barrier to entry, right? So reach out to us. Like if you're keen to be there, we're keen for you to be there too. But yeah, we're about I think just under 100 tickets left. So come. It's gonna be awesome.
I have to ask, do our lovely listeners get a discount code?
I think maybe maybe you can share one with them. Yeah, I can. I'll share one with you afterwards. Got it. But it will be limited until Friday. How does that sound? Just so that it's fair to everybody else. But
that sounds fair. All right, so July 16th to the 18th in Berlin. I mean, what a great city for an event. What a great city for Web3 in general. You have the hackathon, the node space. You have, some icons and legends of Web3 speaking at the event. Gavin Wood is going to be there. We have some folks from the foundation as well, Web3 Foundation. I think it's going to be a really fun event. Angie, I would love to be there. I have, I'm expecting a baby right around the same time.
So I was going to say you've got an important life event, and I was expecting a baby last year. So it's just, you will be missed. But the great thing is we do live stream all of the keynotes. So if for some reason you can't be there, we still want you to be involved. So make sure you tune in for that. And there's also always next year. We're planning for this to be a kind of mainstay in the Web3 calendar as long as people are stoked. So there's always next year. Maybe we're gonna have to set up a crash between us. Seriously.
I think it's going to be such a wonderful event, and I'll definitely be there for 2026. We'll hopefully get a discount code shared for those that want to attend. Sasha, any closing words you want to say before we sign off here?
Tune into the WebZeros X stream that's going to be in the next 30 minutes ish. Okay. I'm going to be diving into more details about the hackathon.
Okay. So if you are listening and you want to get more information about the hackathon, head over to it's x.com/joinwebzero is their Twitter. I've memorized it by now. And you can get all of the details. You can probably even ask Sasha a question live in the stream. All right, gang. So thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck, both of you at the event. And
so much.
Yeah. Have a great time in Berlin.
Thank you so much for having us, Evan, and good luck to you. We're so excited for your big life event.
Thank you so much. Yeah. All right, well, let's do this again soon. This is really fun.
That'd be awesome. Great to see you, Sasha. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.